Now, it's Sunday, so there's another royal scandal in the newspapers. One man who keeps a forensic eye on royal finances is my former parliamentary colleague, the Right Honourable Norman Baker, who joins us now, and I'm grateful. Norman, as always, I know you've got your own radio show on a Sunday night, so thanks for fitting us in. The case on the face of it is unanswerable. The fool Fawcett put down on paper that which you and I know is usually corruptly mumbled into ears in the corridors of gentlemen's clubs around St. James's.
Yes, indeed so, George. And if you look at the letter which was published in the paper today, it not only links the giving of an honour and the support for citizenship with money coming into the prince, but it talks about what will happen in the future. So there's no question, I'm afraid, that it seems to me an open and shut case, which is why I have written to the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Cressida Dick, asking her to start an investigation for what appears to me to be prima facie evidence that an offence has been committed under the 1925 Honours Act.
I agree entirely it's an open and shut case, and I agree entirely it's a very clear offence under the Act. The question is, who did the offending? Mr. Fawcett, the Prince's right-hand man, or the Prince himself?
Well, you know, of course, Prince Charles has been busy trying to put distance between himself and Michael Fawcett today. Not me, Gov, appears to be the line from Clarence House. We all know that Prince Charles and Michael Fawcett are Tweedledum and Tweedledee, or if you prefer something more literal, Achilles and Patroclus. That's what they are. And nothing that Michael Fawcett will have been done without Prince Charles's say-so. Now, we know before when Prince Charles was found to be allowing the selling of gifts which had been given to raise money, Michael Fawcett fell on his sword back then. Michael Fawcett has a habit of resigning and a habit of being brought back in when no one's looking. And this is that's the attempt now, which is happening, the so-called investigation by the Prince's Foundation. I mean, what a joke. At what point do people say this law a judge and jury in their own court? There's no investigation there at all. What will happen is Michael Fawcett will get wrapped up with the knuckles, he'll disappear for a while, and when no one's looking, Prince Charles will bring him back. At least that's the intention. And it's part of our job, I think, and I say our job, those who believe in democracy and proper process, to make sure that doesn't happen.
Now, it's the poor monarch, of course, has had to suffer the slings and arrows of press coverage of her sons. Her daughter appears mercifully to live a better life. But this is particularly damning, not because Prince Andrew's actions were not themselves serious, but he's not going to be the king. If, God forbid, Her Majesty was to pass this very evening, 1 second after she passed, Prince Charles would be king.
Well, technically not 1 second after. Technically, there has to be a Privy Council meeting to approve that. And by the way,
you'd need to be at it.
Yes. There's a Privy Council meeting held in secret with a small number of people like the Prime Minister. There's then a gathering when we all acclaim Prince Charles, to which I shall be invited. I just suppose that's my opinion at that point, but I'm very happy to give him some of that.
You can always shout it out, Norman.
Well, I may do. But in any case, you're perfectly true. The Queen has done her best over the years. She's relatively scandal-free, I think it's fair to say. And she's been landed with the disaster that's Prince Andrew, dodgy prince par excellence. She's got Harry and Meghan bleating over from the other side of the Atlantic, and now she's got her heir to the throne, who is up to his neck in, well, sleaze. That's the old-fashioned word, George. You'll know it, sleaze, or prefer a different word, corruption.
Yeah, sleaze is the euphemism. It is actual corruption. If you are selling knighthoods for money, what is that but corruption?
Indeed, and if you just look at the other aspect of this, the idea that money would come in for the Prince's good cause in return for support for an application for citizenship. Does that ring a bell to you? Can I tell you what it reminds me of? It's when I asked my parliamentary question back in 2001. I think you were in the Commons at the time, and it revealed that Peter Mandelson had been chasing the Hinduja brothers for money for the Millennium Dome and supporting their application for citizenship by way of a return favour. And he had to resign, if you recall. Now, Prince Charles, no doubt, won't be resigning, but he ought to.
Yeah, we can accept that some people can be fools and some knaves, and some are both fools and knaves. Mandelson is very definitely a knave, but not a fool. He didn't write a letter to the Hindujas saying, no, give me money and I'll give you a passport.
No, he wrote a letter to the Home Office, which is what came out from my parliamentary question. So he did actually leave a trail. But I mean, look, Prince Charles is up to his neck in this, and there's no point in him trying to pretend that Michael Fawcett is unknown to him. Those two are inextricably linked. And the questions, I think, on this affair are not for Michael Fawcett, they are for Prince Charles.
Yes. Do you think Cressida Dick will investigate this, as you're going to be asking her to do tomorrow?
Well, I have actually asked her today. I've actually written, because I had a spare an hour, so I wrote to her this afternoon and asked her to do that and put the case. And the letter, I think, will be, the intention is to publish in the Sun tomorrow, the letter I've written to Cressida Dick. She ought to investigate it because on the face of it, there's an offence being committed. And without being grand about it, I am a Privy Councillor, and she ought to be listening to what I'm saying about these matters. I am there to advise the Queen officially, and I'm advising Cressida Dick that there's an offence being committed. So she ought to look into it. However, the Metropolitan Police studiously failed to look into the allegations made against Prince Andrew, although they were allegedly committed in this country. And at that time, the benefit of the doubt had to be given to the victim. That was the official Metropolitan Police line. It didn't seem to apply to Prince Andrew. So I think there is a reluctance in the Metropolitan Police to date to pursue matters where the royal family is involved. But you know, George, we are all equal before the law, even Prince Charles.
Well, yes, until he becomes king, and at which point he becomes the law. This wonderful book that you wrote, I can't speak highly enough of it. And what do you do? Brilliantly zeroes in on the finances. Follow the money. That's what you have done. You can balk at the flumery and the privilege and the unelected power and so on. But when you follow the money, you find corruption, sleaze, malfeasance on really quite a grand scale. Laws are deliberately written or not written to financially benefit the crown. You've got it all in your book.
Well, yes, I think I have, George. And the fact of the matter is the royal family believes it can be immune from any sort of public accountability. It thinks it's arrogant enough to believe it can get away with it. And because it has got away with it to date, but it should be held to account. The Queen and all the members of the royal family who receive public money are public servants. That's what they are. Just the same as MPs, members of the House of Lords, councillors, people who work in the public sector, the NHS or anything else. They work for the public with public money and need to be accountable for it, and they're not. And I hope what will come out of my book and come out of episodes like this is the eyes of the public being opened to what's being done in their name.
More power to your elbow and your pen. Right Honourable Norman Baker, thank you for joining us. I'd like to be a fly on the wall at that Privy Council when Norman gets the chance to query the elevation to the monarchy of Prince Charles.